Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you are joining for the first time, this is part of our e-commerce series for which we meet every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We typically review just one solution or the vendor that might be present in the e-commerce space. For today, we are going to be reviewing a vendor called Ordoro. I don't even know how to pronounce that, to be honest. That sounds like a fancy name. So we are going to have fun discussing that. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intro. I am going to start with my intro. If you don't know me, I am Sam Gupta. I'm your host and principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. E-commerce is always going to be at the heart of everything that we do. And I've been doing this for 20 years. Now I'm going to move to Phil for his intro.
Hi, everybody. Phil Coerper with Ringling Business Solutions. I'm coming to you with 20 plus years in digital transformation and e-commerce solutions and ERP solutions, mainly from a general manager position in mid-market manufacturing companies. And Ringling Business Solutions helps senior executive teams align their digital transformation with their core business strategies. So, Sam, looking forward to being here with you today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Phil, for that. Robert, can I ask you to introduce yourself next?
Sure. My name is Robert Brown of Robert Brown E-commerce Consultancy. I have 20 plus years of e-commerce and digital experience in Fortune 100 size companies. I help small to medium sized companies look at their implementations and executions from a customer perspective, not just a technical solution perspective, to ensure that they can get the most out of their money.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Robert. And if you are in the audience and joining for the first time, if you have any comments or questions, make sure you guys are going to post that. Typically, we try to cover during the show. If you run out of time, then our panelists are going to make sure that you receive your answers. On that note, I am going to start with a quick brief about this solution. So this is sort of the series, Phil and Robert, that we have been doing. And this is a similar solution, in the sort of QuickBooks Zero space. In this specific case, they are only present in the QuickBooks ecosystem. At least that's what I could find on their site. I don't know if you guys could find anything else. So seems like they are really into that QuickBooks ecosystem. Their play is still very inventory. And now I think this is the, fifth, sixth, or maybe eighth inventory solution that we are reviewing. And obviously, along with inventory, you get a lot of perks as well. So even these guys are trying to do a lot more than just the inventory. So we are going to review what approach that they are taking. Their target market is really going to be that QuickBooks market, which in my mind always is that, $5 million and below. Sometimes, companies might use QuickBooks for very long, but typically QuickBooks is not really designed for that. So that's going to be their target market. Overall, from the capabilities perspective, they also have the shipping capabilities that are combined as part of the solution. In fact, their shipping capabilities, in my mind, are far richer than the actual inventory capabilities. So we are going to review all of that. And even in the ERP space, if you move away from your QuickBooks ecosystem, then you are going to find a lot of different apps that are going to do similar things as what Ordoro is doing. So, the shipping capabilities are really rich, and those capabilities could be applicable in the other ecosystems as well, but then inventory is not going to be applicable. So the way I see the solution is going to be shipping plus inventory. And then overall, from the competitor perspective, my understanding is going to be they compete with all of the solutions that we have reviewed in the past, and that is going to be your Cubanas of the world. That is going to be Zentel, and last week, Robert and Phil, do you guys remember which one we reviewed last week? They are going to be their flow track, I guess, right? Okay. So yeah, so that's pretty much it from the briefing perspective. Do you guys have any comments, or shall I move through the slides?
So I found on some public reviews, founded in 2010.
Yeah.
Relatively small company, 20 to 30 employees.
Yep.
5 million in revenue. They do have an enterprise level license level that they talk about, Sam, that has, pretty large number of users. So I found that interesting, seeing how when you read the features as you went over it, it does seem to aim at more small, mid-size, SME type of organizations, but they do have what they call an enterprise license, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, so Phil, based on my experience in the SaaS world, I think every player is going to have some sort of enterprise offering, and that is typically targeted for the larger customer. So enterprise is very subjective, right? So from their perspective, enterprise is going to be slightly bigger than what their target market is, because they want to provide them the customized pricing experience, because their pricing may not be designed really for the enterprise customer. That's why they like to bucket everything that is not going to be their focus target market as the enterprise bucket. But again, the solution itself is not really designed for the larger enterprise. For them, the enterprise could be $50 million. Who knows?
Yep.
So I was looking at this slide in particular, and this is nothing against the company that we're reviewing. It has to do with the companies providing these reviews.
Yeah.
And so this is businesses, need to be aware that most of these are affiliate farms.
Yeah.
And that they're guest writers, ghostwriters, paid writers reviewing these. So they're basically going to the websites, pulling, features and functionality out of the website and just, picking and choosing. So this one, bottom left-hand side, it says best shipping software. And, I went and took a look at that review, and, nothing against the writer in particular. It's just, he's not an operator. He's a writer. His entire career is writing. And Neil Patel is known for SEO. So, so and Capterra and Software Advice and GetApp are notorious for being, affiliate generating SEO machines. Yep. And so if you're going to look at software, look at people that are actually operators who actually do this for a living, that can tell you the ins and outs, not looking at these review sites.
Just one thing I would add there, Robert, so even if you're looking at these review sites, go to the details of those reviews. Look at the people who are posting those reviews. Don't look at the ratings. They don't mean anything. Okay. Look at the comments that they have made in the reviews. I think that's where the real play is. And we have been reviewing a lot of those comments as part of our reviews to make sure that people are able to understand how to read these things. Because obviously, if you're going to look at Capterra, GetApp, whatever, they are all very paid. I mean, they are being paid for generating the leads, as you correctly pointed out, that they are really affiliated. So good point there.
Yeah, and for those who are tuning in, stick around to the back end of the slide deck, because Sam does a really nice job of highlighting some of those actual people reviews, and the cons are always where a lot of the meat and potatoes is, right?
Great point. Thank you so much, Phil. If you don't have any other comments. So here, what you're looking at. So I think the point that I really wanted to cover are already covered. Thank you, Robert and Phil, for that. But here, some of the marketing hype that you should not pay attention to. For things like tested and trusted by thousands of merchants since 2010. I don't know what that means. Great. Sure, that has year that you have been in the market for 10 years. Great. But overall, pay attention to the language. Here they are saying, all the tools you need to operate like a large scale corporation. In my mind, I think that is slightly overstated. They should be clarifying their position a little bit more, that you are really targeting that small, segment of the customer, and they are the right fit for you. If you are going to go after very large corporations, that's not your target market. So don't overclaim that. Now, going back to these awards. So here they are saying the top best inventory management software, top best inventory management, and top best shipping software. In a way, I kind of agree with the reviews, and I'll tell you why. Because the software itself has slightly deeper inventory capabilities that we have reviewed. at least in this segment. Okay, you guys are going to see that we are going to look at that, what I am talking about overall from the inventory perspective. Again, these inventory capabilities are not going to be comparable to your ERP systems such as NetSuite, Acumatica, even Odoo. They are going to have far richer inventory capabilities. But when you are in that QuickBooks segment, you are not going for ERP system because you cannot afford that ERP implementation. That's why you are sticking there, so that you can grow, and then finally you get a real system that is going to do the real inventory management. Here, sure, you are going to be able to manage these few maybe channels, but from the finance, accounting, operations perspective, the capabilities that you are going to require to be able to manage your inventory, it's going to be very different. And again, you don't need that when you are less than $5 million revenue, but when you are 10, 15, you definitely need that. Okay, so now their screens. I mean, the screens are really pretty. Obviously, this is a very cloud native experience. You can see that the technology is really good. Overall, from the menu structure perspective, they have segmented it in 3 categories. So you have the orders, you have the products, and then you have the POs. Okay, and that's where my problem is a little bit. So again, this software could be great when you are trying to utilize this as more of your sort of the ERP system, just because you cannot go for the real ERP system. That's why you are drop shipping right from here. You are cutting your POs right from here. You are cutting your orders right from here. But overall layout, if you actually look at this, then you are going to find similarity with some of the software that might be, let's say, if you compare this in the Acumatica or NetSuite ecosystem, they are your smallest ERP software, in that you have solutions such as PageStat. PageStat is probably going to have similar layout. They are never going to sell them as the inventory management software because they are really the shipping add-ons, but they are probably going to have similar menus as you are seeing in the case of Ordoro, where you have the order. Products is, they are probably not going to have the products, but in their case, they have the products and the bombs. So we are going to review what all capabilities you are going to get when you are going to be configuring products as part of this platform. But one thing that I really like about this platform is, even in the advanced shipping software, you are probably not going to have those order consolidation capabilities. Okay, so typically in those software, so even though your ERP software might be able to support the one-to-one scenario of order consolidation, meaning you are printing all your labels in one go, as opposed to doing one-on-one, because that actually increases the operational effort, that increases the admin effort. So in this case, you can combine all of those orders together and print all of those labels in one go. And in my mind, that's a very advanced capabilities that does not exist in some of the more complex shipping software with the ERP system, even though your ERP system might be more capable in handling the one-to-one scenario. So I like it a lot as a shipping software, to be honest. If you guys have any comments, I can take those or move to the next one. Now here they are saying we are one-stop app for tackling the shipping operations of all of your channels, which is wonderful. That's what they are, to be honest. Okay, so they are really handling all of your shipping operations. And Phil, you might relate with this. You have, when you talk about the pick, pack, ship process, these guys are handling the shipping function. Okay, and they're really good at that shipping function. And that's why I am trying to compare these guys with something like PageStat, which is probably going to be comparable if you compare this in the ERP ecosystem with this. So they are handling the shipping functionality, but they have a little bit of order management and the inventory as well. And they are saying they can do all of this for all of the channels, from marketplaces like Amazon and eBay to carts like Shopify and BigCommerce. And then they can combine all of these carts at one place and handle the consolidated shipping, which is wonderful. I like it a lot. They are saying whether they are from Ordoro supported sales channels, CSV upload, or custom API integration, import your orders into one app and ship them out the door and on their way. And then they have a little bit of 3PL capabilities as well. This is something that we have seen in every single solution that we have reviewed. In e-commerce, 3PL is very common, and that's why 3PL and dropshipping, both of them. So that's why they have the 3PL and dropshipping capabilities, to support those scenarios. Now, here they are saying Ordoro automatically relays shipping status and tracking number back to the appropriate sales channel, keeping the customer in the loop. Now, this is a very key piece of functionality that most e-commerce companies are going to need. You have to really send the sales, the tracking number back to your sales channel, because you need to communicate that to your customer. You need to have that in that channel. So I like this piece of functionality as part of this as well.
Yes, Sam, I agree. This is their lane. It's an excellent slide. It's what I bet they're really good at. And that write back functionality, the multiple label printing or bundling functionality is pretty solid stuff right here. Well, I'll have a few other comments when they get a little outside their lane in a few slides, but this is definitely their lane.
Exactly.
One note from what I've been reviewing, and maybe it's just the way that they've presented it, but it looks like that they are pretty much limited to domestic businesses. I haven't seen anything that talks about handling international warehouses or specifically international marketplaces. They only talk about US.
I'm actually going to have to agree with that, to be honest. And I don't know how e-commerce merchants, you're right that some of them may have international operations. So Robert, and you can correct me if I'm off here, but typically from my experience, there are two ways to handle that. Either they are going to outsource everything, for the international operations. So for the domestic, they are going to be handling themselves, but international market may not be as big. So they are going to completely outsource your fulfillment and 3PL, whatever they are going to do, right? So operationally, they are going to be very different when you compare your domestic operation versus international. So I don't know if it is going to make sense to integrate them together in one platform, even if a company may be on the ERP, and if the international operations may be 5% of their business, sometimes companies don't really integrate that because it's just too much effort in integrating that. And I would love to hear from Phil what he thinks, and Robert, any follow-up comments?
Yeah, I think it does read domestic. I was just taking another glance from hearing that. Typically, you'd add Canada. Typically, you would try to have a North American presence for one of these e-commerce companies that would use this. So I was unable to find it in a quick peek if they actually highlighted all Canada. Once you decide that you're going, across the pond, or even Mexico, Europe, where you've got, other things going on, that's a different, I agree with what you said. That's a different level of functionality.
No, absolutely. So when you have Amazon, so Amazon's going to have location specific, and they're going to have Amazons in each one of the countries, or at least in the EU. So when you're shipping your goods over to the EU, you need to go through that first step of getting it into EU, because you're going to have to pay the VAT before it gets in there. And, so there's a lot of international sellers that once they're in the EU, they have, country specific Amazon accounts. So this is just for anybody that was looking at this from an international perspective. It does not seem to support that at all.
And I completely agree. And maybe I think we all are agreeing that they should be clarifying their message that they are looking at domestic shipping consolidation as opposed to the overarching shipping consolidation. So I completely agree with you, Robert. Thank you so much for that. Okay. Now, let's look at some of the other capabilities. Now, this is where it gets a little confusing, to be honest, okay? So, yes, they are the inventory management software, and they have decent inventory management functionality, especially for those smaller sellers. It's not bad at all. So, they have some very interesting hitting functionality. In fact, Phil, I think I made a comment yesterday that we are going to be reviewing this, and we are going to be reviewing the bill of materials. Now, we have seen some very complex bill of materials, right? So we are going to see how these guys define bill of materials. And my problem with this is, everybody who looks at bill of material, they are going to think, okay, these guys have bill of material. But bill of materials could mean a lot of different things. When you look at, from software 1 to software 2, so make sure you are paying attention to what kind of capabilities are they able to support as part of that bill of material, and how deep the capabilities are as part of that bill of material, and which products are they going to be able to support. Are they able to support only the apparel, or are they able to support big rockets? Those two are very different products and very different manufacturing processes. So now when we look at the kitting capabilities, so here they are saying selling the same product on multiple sales channels under different branded descriptions. This is centered around the multi-channel, so that so list them individually and simply link them to master product. I think we saw these capabilities, and Robert, I don't know if you remember this. We saw this capability in Zentel or some other similar solution. I don't remember, but I mean, they all had this capability. So now, in my mind, let's say if I'm buying this for shipping, and I am probably using 5 other solutions. So again, drawing the line in terms of what is going to be these guys' lane versus their lane, it could be very difficult, especially when you are doing shipping really well. Now, am I using you for the inventory? And then am I using you for the multi-channel functionality as well? It could get a little confusing in my mind.
Absolutely, especially if you're feeding back into QuickBooks, then you're going to have to have a really sophisticated implementation expert to understand which fees to take and which ones not to take, because if you're taking them both, they're going to overwrite or they're going to duplicate, and that could create a mess.
Yeah, and good luck with that integration. If you have 5 software writing to the same, oh my goodness, you are going to have so much fun. I don't want to be that part of that project, I guess.
But it reads to me, and I might be wrong in this, guys, but it reads to me that they're taking the words kitting and bundling, which they may have some pretty good functionality, and they're expanding it into a conversation about bombs and about more functionality than what they probably have. They're doing basic kitting and bundling. I actually think they might have some decent functionality just in that area. Sam, I don't know what your opinion of that is, or Robert.
So, Phil, we are going to review. They do have bill of material. So they have kits. They also have bill of material. So they are able to support a little bit of manufacturing. But these two are completely separate, even in their product. They have kitting.
I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to make an argument that what they're calling a bomb is just a fancy way to do kitting and bundling.
No. I mean, they definitely have BOM, but a really basic BOM. But we are going to review that. And I am going to have a little comment there as well, to be honest. Okay. The way they are defining kits versus BOM, we are going to have fun there. So let's we'll come back to that. So here, we are talking about the kitting. In kitting, they are saying shape perception through product to create a sense of scarcity. And I love this piece of functionality, to be honest. Okay. And this is typically handled in very ad hoc way. And they have defined the workflow for that. So in my mind, I think that this is a very, very, very interesting piece of functionality. And they are saying our max export quantity lets you establish the limit on the product quantity. So it's almost like the way the airlines work. Typically, airlines are going to release only 10 seats at a time. And the way, and Robert, I'm pretty sure you can relate with this because you have a lot of experience in the airline and the hotel space, right? So they typically release only the 10 seats at a time, and they are going to see how they are selling. And based on that, the price of the next batch is going to be determined. Okay. So this is the same functionality here. You are saying, okay, I have only 5 left. I'm going to increase the price. You are sort of, making them appear as if they are scarce commodity or product, and you are trying to get far more revenue from your customers. And then, once that sells, then you are going to release a little bit more. So this is just a perception marketing play, but they have a workflow for that.
That can be a sophisticated tool if used correctly, but I'm not sure if some of the lower to mid-range companies have that kind of sophistication. Usually they're going to go after pricing differences. And I did not see anything that showed you some of the pricing tools that would be necessary. Like, okay, am I going to have a different price on eBay versus Amazon versus my website? Do I have, when I have discounts coming from a vendor, or I'm going to offer a discount window, the ability to schedule that so I don't have to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning to make that happen in California. So that's just a little piece that, some people may be looking for that this doesn't have.
Yeah, and this is where my problem would be, to be honest. I think that functionality will reside in the multi-channel solution. And from their positioning perspective, they are sitting in the warehouse because they are the shipping solution, right? Now, you cannot, when you are shipping solution, sitting in the warehouse, you don't want to be doing marketing, right? That's where my problem is. So some of the solutions that we saw when they were actually in the marketing play, because they were really good multi-channel solution and they had a little bit of inventory in the operations functionality. My problem was, okay, why are you doing operations? Because you are really that multi-channel, play there. Here, these guys are really designed for the warehouse. Stay in the warehouse. If you are going to have the multi-channel functionality, then it's going to be all over the place. That, okay, now are you going to be doing my marketing as well, along with operations, it could be very confusing.
Okay. I think the way they handle that, looking at who they have integrations with, I think they handle that with Channel Advisor.
I agree. Yeah, they are definitely going to need some sort of multi-channel play. And yes, you are going to need that piece of functionality with Channel Advisor. But again, how this is all going to be integrated together will be my question always.
Yeah, and then there's one more on top of Channel Advisor. Then you got either Magento or Shopify.
Yeah.
Where some of that marketing functionality may be able to reside.
Exactly.
So just by definition, that's 3 integrations, right? So and you haven't even really, and now you got QuickBooks, so now you're at 4.
Yep.
So it reads as a nice tool for the small business starting to come up, but some integrations, Sam, which you always speak so well about, is just inevitable with this type of a tool, right?
Exactly. And that's where my problem is, to be honest. But again, when you are that small, you just live with whatever you have. One good thing about these tools is that they are probably going to be pre-integrated. So at least you don't have to worry about the integration. And that's why it is really friendly for those small businesses. But again, they have, a shelf life. So make sure you are not going to stay on them for very long, because they are not really designed for, businesses that are going to be $10, $15 million in revenue.
Yeah, that's a great point. Magento has a very rich apps community, right? So that's kind of their model, is to be able to hopefully have most of the functionality pre-integrated or at least ready.
So one of the things that, some of those smaller growing companies are going to have to take into account is, okay, as we said, let's say 4 integrations, Channel Advisor, this, QuickBooks, and Magento or Shopify. When you're trying to track down a problem, good luck. Because if you go to Shopify and say, hey, this is the problem, they're going to go, no, that's somebody else. That's not us. And it's going to be the ball bouncing back and forth. And so somebody in your team is going to have to spend a lot of time tracking down that error that is going to be either some configuration conflict or data issue.
Yeah, but that's what you get. See, if you are not able to afford the larger ERP systems, that's why the larger ERP systems are going to be more expensive. Because they are slightly bigger in size. When you are small, your order volume is not as high. You can probably spend a lot more time in debugging those things, I guess. But obviously, those are the challenges that you are going to get when you are trying to use multiple systems. You are right, Robert. Okay, so here, we were talking about this functionality. So here they are saying, let's you establish a limit on the product quantity seen by the consumer when Ordoro pushes amount on hand to your storefronts. Again, I like the piece of functionality just because you are pushing the amount, which is a very critical piece of inventory functionality that most e-commerce architecture should have, even the bigger one. So I like the piece of functionality. I don't know how functional that is going to be because of the integration issues that Robert just mentioned. So it might not work as well as you might expect. But again, if it is working, then obviously this is a very critical piece of functionality that most e-commerce merchants are going to require. Here, okay, so now I'm actually going to move to the next. So this is the goods receipt. And again, the reason why I am saying that their place is really inside the warehouse is because that's where their sweet spot is. If you look at their shipping, if you look at the way they are doing the goods receipt for the PO, and this is going to be a drop shipping scenario where you get the order. And by the way, they have some crazy features where you can literally automate your entire sales cycle, where when you are going to get the order, and one of the order may go to 2 different 3PLs or 2 different vendors that might be shipping different SKUs. So you can automate all of that. So they have some really cool features. But again, your PO functionality is now sitting inside this one. So you require that integration with QuickBooks as well. And then you need to have your vendors, sitting at 2 places. So again, the more data that you bring in your second or third system, the more challenges you are going to get overall from the integration perspective. Here, they have some really funny things such as ready set PO, which is wonderful. I love it. With purchase orders, it's also possible to stock or not sell as much product as you want and back order. So they have back order from your suppliers with a PO, which is great. Again, that's a very complex piece of functionality that they are able to support. And then they are saying here, ensure you get the stock you ordered, enter quantity received into goods. The PO will be complete. So again, they are trying to do a little bit of three-way matching, but then you don't really have the invoice here. So I don't know how you are going to do three-way matching, but at least you are able to do the goods receipt matching to make sure that your POs are going to be closed, which is not bad at all, when you look at the size of the solution. Okay, so this is where the scanning functionality is going to be, and this is where they are saying letting you tag products with aisle and bin location. So now they are trying to be a little bit of WMS as well. But again, I don't have problem with this one, and the reason for that is because they are still in that pick, pack, ship process. So as long as you are there, I don't have any problem with the functionality. But again, if you have a very busy warehouse, you might require slightly richer WMS system. For example, Flow Track is what we reviewed, and they had really strong WMS functionality. But this one is probably not going to have as strong WMS functionality. They are going to have really rich shipping functionality. So here they are saying pick and pack errors, but maybe companies are able to use just this, when their warehouse is not going to be as busy. And this is probably designed for slightly more e-commerce shops as compared to Flow Track, which was more designed for hospitals, universities. This is probably going to be suitable. And Robert, I would love to hear from you if you feel this is going to be suitable for e-commerce or not. But in my mind, I think this is probably an e-commerce solution.
Yeah, this seems fine. I mean, what I'm really concerned about is the reporting capabilities, and they don't expound on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, you are under $5 million. I mean, obviously, you need to put a lot of manual effort to get the reporting. I mean, I would be worried about processing the transactions, etc. If you are able to process and you are not putting as much manual effort, it's good enough. But obviously, you are not going to get the reporting capabilities as you are going to get in NetSuite or Acumatica. Or for example, Odoo is probably going to have far superior, reporting capabilities using something like this. And again, the only reason why companies would stick to this is because they want to use Shopify and they want to use QuickBooks, because most of their accountants are probably going to know QuickBooks. So you are on QuickBooks and now you are stuck on QuickBooks. And because of that, you need another inventory solution. If you move to something like Odoo, then you can get far more integrated ERP solution, which is not going to be as heavy as Acumatica or NetSuite. And then you are going to get everything that you're looking at here. It might be in the similar price range. I don't think even these apps are any less expensive. They are fairly expensive. So here, let's say if I look at the price of this, so here they are saying just one sales channel, and typically e-commerce companies are going to have at least 10 sales channel, even if they are doing, let's say, $1 million in revenue. There are very few shops that are going to be completely focused on Amazon or just eBay. They are probably going to be selling on 5 or 6 or 10 different channels. So here they are saying 3,000 orders per month and one sales channel, and that itself is going to be $499 per month, for the pro version. If you look at Express, that's $59 per month. But then here you have the unlimited users, unlimited ship from location, but again, just one sales channel. So as you are going to be adding more sales channels, they are going to be increasing the price, and that's going to be fairly big overall in my mind.
Yeah, the first 2 points, the workflows bar, where they're starting to say, okay, that's fine, you're scanning, and that's fine, it knows where the aisle and the bin location is, but they're right on the edge there of a warehouse management system where they're going to start efficiency routing of the pick. And I don't see that functionality. And then on the second one, where they're saying semantics, all of your metrics, I read that as they're gonna dump some basic inventory metrics into QuickBooks, and you'll be able to run a report or run a spreadsheet and figure out where your slow moving inventory is and maybe make some decisions. But I would say that's probably a long way away from really what they're calling it, which is advanced analytics.
Exactly. And the reason why you are not going to get good analytics out of this one is because QuickBooks does not have the core inventory features. It's a very accounting solution. You are not going to get your LIFO and FIFO and the way your products are going to be bundled. So you don't have all of that. So even if you are going to design very fancy solution on top of QuickBooks, you are never going to get the ERP capabilities the way ERP and e-commerce businesses are supposed to run. So yes, you can get a lot of data, I guess, but you are not going to get the insights that you would need. Again, when you are under $5 million, you don't have to worry about all of that, to be honest. But once you become,
I don't see anything wrong with this, and it's good.
Yeah.
I just think you just have to have your eyes open, as you guys have both expressed, that this is going to give you a little bit. It'll give you a little taste, but it's not going to give you, and for this solution and these types of companies, that's probably better than what they have today.
Exactly. I completely agree. Okay, so I'm actually going to move to the next one. So here are the features, and Phil, you are probably going to like this one better because they have slightly, and in the other one you didn't like because there was only one difference in the feature set. Here they have done slightly better job in my mind, overall in defining the features. So I believe the starter is probably free, if I remember correctly, or maybe it has very low dollar amount, and then you have the Express and then Pro and the Enterprise. The tracking number write back is a critical piece of functionality that they have included in all of the versions, which is probably going to be required. But the biggest differentiator in the pricing is going to be sales channel. And in my mind, I think that's a big barrier because, as you are going to be increasing your sales channel, the price is actually going to increase very fast. That would be my assumption based on the way I am reading the pricing. The RMA functionality and the return labels are not included as part of the Express version. So my assumption is going to be most companies are probably going to require the Pro version, but sometimes I have seen if the return volume is not going to be as great, then you might process returns manually. You don't have to process inside the system. If you get, let's say, 10 returns per month, what's the point of keeping that in the system? You can get away with that and probably use just the Express version, and you probably don't require the return functionality.
So one of the things that you said, Sam, and we've mentioned this before. These companies that, for whatever reason, they have some pieces of their Legos together, and they want to add another Lego into their entire matrix to try to make things work a little bit better, but they're not really evaluating what the overall cost is going to be for that. Exactly. Right? So they just keep adding on pieces, and suddenly here they are a year down, and they've got like 5 or 6 different tools online, and now they're spending, upwards of $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month for, let's say, 90 or 100,000 orders a year, and that's really expensive. So I think, people should not take a look at this in a vacuum. They need to look at their entire ecosystem and try to understand how all these things fit together and what the overall cost is going to be, and is there a value add for the pieces they're putting together. I think this is a great shipping solution, but I'm really concerned about all those integrations and the additional cost to make them work, because Challenger ain't cheap.
Robert, the price point you mentioned, I think that price point is probably going to be just for one tool, based on my understanding of the market and how I have spoken to other customers, to be honest. Okay, so typically for one tool, you are going to be paying easily 10,000, 20,000 per year, 25,000, and you are going to be requiring 4 of those, and then internal developers and the integration and the internal cost. Okay, so it does get very expensive. Okay, they just don't realize because they are saying, $100 per month per user. Easy, right? But it does get very expensive if you compute every cost that is going to be required there.
Well, and I think that's where you mentioned it earlier, Sam. When you're at a certain level and then you're buying these solutions because it's an improvement and it's an improvement and improvement, and then you get to that point where you've added so many Legos, to use Robert's terminology, that it's gotten expensive and unwieldy. You have to plan for an evolution in your tech stack. So you have to go in with your eyes open and say, okay, this will carry me a year, maybe 2. And then I'm going to have to plan for what am I going to do next. And well before you get there, start researching, okay, what's the next more integrated solution that fits where I'm at from here to here, and realize there's another implementation coming down the road. If you try to hold on to this thing too long, that's when it becomes legacy and extremely expensive.
Yeah, could not agree more. Thank you so much, Phil, for that. So I am actually going to move to some more features here. So here you have the receive and restock returned goods. again, they are going to be in your slightly more expensive versions. They are not going to be in the initial version. The RMA functionality, the barcode scanning is not included in the free version, but at least they have it in the Express. And then you have the multi-channel inventory sync that is not included as part of your, So again, I think bare minimum you would require the Pro version, which is roughly $500, I believe, per month, and that is going to be only for one channel. And then $500 per month, meaning $6,000 a year is what you are looking at. And as soon as you are going to add 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 channels, and in my mind, I think that will be the average for most e-commerce companies. You are right there at $20,000, $25,000 point. And if you go for some other ERP solutions, you might get $20,000, $25,000, the whole ERP solution, and that is going to club a lot more functionality than just this.
On their fees page on the Pro, it actually has a drop down for the number of orders. So when you switch it to 8,000 orders a month, which is 96,000 a year, it becomes 1,000 a month. So I got it 1,049 for 7 channels and 8,000 orders a month, just for this.
Yep. These tools do get very expensive. That's my experience as well. So thank you so much for validating that, Robert. So here we have the multi-warehouse inventory tracking, inventory allocation, which is again included as part of your enterprise functionality. I don't know if you should be worrying about allocation when you are that small, to be honest, but sure. I mean, see, if you have need for that, go for the enterprise one. Then you have the just-in-time, and they have the real bill of materials. Okay, we are going to review that if we have time, Phil, that they do have real bill of materials. So they have the Amazon FBA routing and inventory management, Amazon FBA order import, third-party warehouse integration, supplier integration, PO unit cost, vendor portal, supplier feeds. By the way, I mean, they have vendor portal as well. In the enterprise version, the vendor portal is going to be that vendors actually can come and then they don't have to get the email. The collaboration is going to happen right inside the portal itself. So this is similar functionality as some of the solutions that we have in the ERP ecosystem. That is going to be your source day is one of them. There are a couple of them. Source day is one of that. And then ERP is going to have their own vendor portals. So they are providing some sort of vendor portal with their solution as well, which is wonderful. Now some more slides. So here they are saying enter a portal to Paradise, and this is where they are trying to describe that portal functionality, where cut back on the back and forth between you and your suppliers, activate the vendor portal, a feature that provides suppliers with an account, allowing them to log into Ordoro and view on their active orders, which is the very standard vendor portal functionality. And through it, they can print labels and create tracking information for those orders. Now, printing the labels is slightly different. They are doing that for 3PLs, I believe, or for the vendors, and which is a very critical piece of functionality. I have not seen that anywhere else. So I actually like it a lot. Then they are saying through Ordoro's open API, it's possible to build custom integration. Okay. And the integration, they have said that they only have the basic HTTP authentication. They don't even have OAuth. If you are going for the financial application, I personally like to see OAuth 2.0 because that's the money, the financial part. So I'm not too sure how comfortable I am personally going to feel with just basic HTTP authentication, but that's what they have. I mean, they are not designed to be more of the financial application, but they just make it easy for developers, but that's not going to be the most secure form of the communication. And Robert, if you have any comments there, obviously you have far deeper IT background than us.
Yeah, I was just going to quickly say on the portal to Paradise, that raises questions. Okay, it's great they can drop ship and that they can make a label, but how does that all tie back into, the actual shipment and the sale to that customer? There has to be some integration there that maybe they have.
Yeah, very interesting point. Okay, so they have some of and this is the functionality that I was talking about in terms of auto routing. And this is going to be orders are sent to vendors without any effort on your end. Each drop shipped SKU, so the SKU can be marked as the drop shipped, and then they are going to be sending it to the suppliers. Again, I like the functionality a lot. So they have very deep, I would say, inventory, the shipping, and the drop shipping functionality, and the 3PL integration, which could be powerful for a lot of different e-commerce merchants, especially if you are going to be in that range where maybe $10 million as well, to be honest. It's not going to be as bad. Here they are saying, but some drop shipments contain products carried by multiple vendors. Order splitting is a necessity. So they are able to split the orders as well. But again, the order is not going to have as many variables or the parameters that you are going to see in some of the other ERP systems. But here they are at least able to split the order, which is not bad at all. Now, here they are saying product is routed to its assigned vendor separately, and they have provided an example. I'll cover some more. And then this is the BOM functionality that we have been discussing, Phil. So here for them, BOM is just the 5 fields. Okay, it's really the material, it's really the quantity, and that's it. That's it. Your BOM is done, and they are calling it as BOM, right? So this BOM is great when you are a very small company and you are hardly doing any assembly. And by the way, you are not even going to get your costing because you don't have your financial data. So I don't know what's the point of BOM, to be honest. And we are also going to review the way they have defined the kits. So they are saying that kits are on the fly. The BOMs are the products that you store in the inventory, meaning, those. So that's how they have defined kits. But if you look at the ERP system, the way they define it, the kit is going to be your items that are going to require slightly more assembly, and your BOMs are going to be the manufactured items. Okay, so the manufacturing process is very different for your kitting versus your BOMs. That's how typically kits and BOMs are defined. On the fly parts are typically called make to order, but in their case, they are calling it as kits.
You covered it, and I thought, and there's some additional work on this we might run out of time on, but these are subcomponent assemblies or kits, in my view, more than they're something that they're not saying here's 10 screws and a wheel and a tire and you need to put it together. They're saying here's the seat and here's the wheels, and you can choose this set of handlebars or that set of handlebars and build yourself a bike, which is great. By the way, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that's a cool thing, but it's not BOM functionality in my world.
Exactly. So, go ahead.
Here, and I hear what you're saying about the kit and the BOM. Okay, great. So they're saying kit is on demand and BOM is pre-built, but there is a difference between a kit, a BOM, and a bundle. And so are they just lumping bundle and kit together?
Yes, as a matter of fact, on their website, they say the two are synonymous to them, I believe.
Okay.
Or it might have been on one of your slides, Sam. I saw it somewhere where they said kit, parenthesis, bundle. I thought I saw that somewhere when I was looking.
I think you are right, Phil. So here, and we might be able to find this here probably on this slide, Phil, if we look closely. But this is where they are saying kit means on demand, BOM meaning pre-built. So in most cases, I think BOM is going to have the SKU number. Kit is not going to have the SKU number. That's how they are defining. But that's not how the accounting world would define this, or the manufacturing world or the distribution world is going to define this. Typically, the kits are going to be the ones that are going to go through a little bit of assembly process. They are not really your manufactured items. It's really, you are literally creating more of a gift wrap. That's what kit is in the ERP world. A BOM is going to be a real manufactured item that actually goes through your shop floor. So that's the differentiation. But
and I think this is really good functionality. I just think it's semantically, it's not being called the right thing. I love the on-demand functionality that I can basically have some basic build to order functionality in here. And I love the kitting bundling functionality, although they're not understanding maybe the differences between the two, but pretty good. Just just, I wouldn't call it what they're calling it.
Exactly. And to be fair with them, to be honest, the kind of customers they are dealing with, they are probably trying to make it easier for them to understand, because you don't want to make it too complicated. Otherwise, it gets really confusing when you get into the ERP terms, because obviously, everybody's probably going to hate ERP because it gets very complex there. So they are probably trying to make it really easy for them so that they can understand. Okay, and here they have by the way, so Phil, we were discussing about the BOM versus kit. So they have the real manufacturing order status, and the order is actually moving through different cycles. So you can see they have the job order number. So it's not just the, it's still going to be very assembly, but they have a job order and they have the internal notes, the products to be manufactured. So you assign some sort of finished SKU there. You have the manufacturing order ID. You are assigning it to a warehouse. So they have a little bit of manufacturing functionality. It's really easy manufacturing functionality. If you don't have very complex manufacturing, then probably for a distribution shop, this is not bad at all. If you're a light e-commerce, shop.
Yeah, and I don't want to keep splitting hairs on these guys, but yeah, this is assembly, and they're giving you some basic
Exactly.
assembly flow functionality. I think it's awesome, but you're not building stuff. You're putting pieces together or bundling them together.
Could not agree more. Thank you so much, Phil. Okay, so here now, I was actually watching the video, and Robert, this is going to actually, going to echo your point that you were trying to talk about the integration. So in their demo video, they actually got the error. Can you believe this? Okay, while syncing. Okay, demo videos are not supposed to have any errors whatsoever. Okay, but they got some errors there while syncing. Obviously, the syncing is going to be very flaky. It's not going to work. It never works the way you would want your QuickBooks to sync. You are always going to have issues because your product models are not really aligned. The integration architecture is not there. But again, if you are $5 million shop, you can do whatever you want. Nobody really cares for data integrity. QuickBooks is going to be really loose. You can change things. Let's say even if that is going to corrupt your data, who cares? So that flexibility is there. That's why you are able to do all of this. But again, once you grow, then you require far tighter process and data integration. Otherwise you are going to experience a lot of financial and operational difficulties if you don't have control on your process. So here the integration, the only thing I could see is going to be Shopify and QuickBooks is their lane is overall from the positioning perspective. So I'm actually going to open up now for the commentary. Phil, Robert, what do you guys think?
Well, I want to just add something that was on a slide we didn't get to in the comments that I referenced earlier, some of the cons. There was several of the reviews that were validated reviews that talked about the syncing time and also talked about that it wasn't syncing fast enough, and then they would have to do the manual sync process, which took a lot of time and it was slow. So it just, as buyer beware, or maybe to the vendor of this, that's an obvious functionality that a customer is going to want to be able to say, I need to sync this often or sync this way for their business.
One of the things that I saw earlier is they're talking about doing the POs, but nowhere did they talk about how are we figuring out what we're ordering? What's that velocity? Not helping that buyer get the right stuff. And so they're kind of connecting a piece in there and making it easy for the vendor to log into a portal. I don't know a vendor that really wants to log into your personal portal unless you're a really big seller, because they've got lots of buyers. They've got lots of companies that are buying from them. So to log into each one of their portals to facilitate that purchase, it's just really time consuming. It should be the other way around. Let the small company log into the vendor's portal and facilitate that or integrate with it. And, looking at some of the cons in these reviews, I think they need to speed things up a little bit.
Phil?
Yep. So just overall, Sam, again, they got some really cool core functionality in their lane, in their core piece. And they even got a few surprises of functionality that I found were pretty cool. And you highlighted a bunch of them as you were going through it. So obviously someone's doing some nice work down there, that it looks good. And they're integrating, in my mind, with the right other partners that are already likely to be in their core marketplace and their sub-market. So that's smart. So there's some real things about these guys that are smart. And they get in my mind, and how I'm a lane guy, they get a little outside of their lane. And then that's when I think they're going to disappoint some customers. But all in all, not a bad. If you buyer beware that you're going to end up with 4 or 5 integrations, that it could get unwieldy and expensive, and you got to have an exit ramp and a plan. it's definitely could be a nice piece of your bridge as you go from point A to point B as a seller.
Yeah, just one quick comment there overall from the lane perspective, as well as what Robert mentioned, about the SKU velocity. So again, the purpose of this tool starts from your pick, pack, ship process. So I don't think this is meant to be more of your order capturing tool. So you are going to be capturing the order inside Shopify. Your multi-channel management is probably going to be in another add-on. That's what is going to do your SKU velocity, whatever you need. From the sales perspective, this is more of the operational perspective. Once your order is captured, then you are going to send to this platform. So the order screen that you are seeing in this platform is going to come once the order is captured somewhere else. Okay, then you are going to get all of those orders here, and then you are trying to fulfill that. I think that's where the boundary is overall. And that's why I don't know if you still require the SKU velocity in your warehouse app. Would you need that, Robert, in your experience?
In your warehouse app, I think that is a key tool. I think that ABC is no longer valid. And looking at this tool, I agree with you. I think if you stick in their strong zone, which is the shipping piece, I think they're a great tool. But unfortunately, buyers are going to see all the other functionality and get, look at the pretty bubble and go, ooh, look at all the fun stuff that it does, without fully understanding what that means.
So let's say you got someone who's using this, they got QuickBooks, and they're running their WMS on spreadsheets. All right. So I would say, or a semi on spreadsheets. They're doing some sort of a manual process. So maybe a way for the client, the customer to think about this is when it gets too unwieldy to do WMS off their spreadsheets, these platforms that they have, the QuickBooks platform, this platform, aren't going to really solve their issue.
Exactly.
That's the time when they have to look at something more comprehensive that gives them some real warehouse functionality.
And I think the key there is when they start trying to throw more resources to deal with the bottleneck, as opposed to it being a software solution.
Mm-hmm. I think those are all really good points. And again, it's interesting with these ones that we're reviewing on these Wednesday nights. These are all those pretty cool, very specific solutions that can be part of a bridge process as a company scales. And it's a little tricky on these. On ERP, it's very difficult to find the real differences between ERP, because the way ERP is sold, frankly, they're just saying whatever they're saying, and you really got to dig in deep to find out where the truth lies on what you're actually buying with an ERP when it comes to functionality. These types of software packages, to me, and Robert, I'd be interested in hearing from you, their functionality is pretty common. I mean, there's some nice differences that might fit you, but it's not as difficult to say this is what this is going to do and this is what this is not going to do, which is good for the people that are shopping this.
Yeah, I think what really gets confusing for the people who are shopping, a lot of this functionality is very common, so it's going to be pretty easy to find it. It's just a matter of finding the right combinations that fit your specific needs, where you are on your growth map.
Well put.
All right, guys, any other short comments? We can take some more, then we need to wrap.
I think I'm covered.
Robert?
Nope. Great job, Sam. Phil?
All right.
Good job.
All right, guys, that's it for today. So again, if you are in that $5-ish million range and you are in the QuickBooks ecosystem, Shopify, and you are looking for the shipping app, a little bit of inventory management, this could be a great option. But again, don't stay on this for too long, because you are going to have far superior pre-integrated option that are going to do far better job of the inventory management and the commerce management as well. On that note, again, that's it for today. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our e-commerce series, for which we meet every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We review either one vendor or the solution from the e-commerce community. So make sure you are going to be here next week. We are going to come back with another vendor or solution. On that note, thanks everyone for your time and insights tonight.
Good night, all.
Thanks, everybody. Bye, all. Thanks, Sam.